This is Saurabh, and you're listening to my favorite talk show, The Weekly Show with Aditya.
This is episode 349 on the 9th of April 2021 as the legendary host of a legendary talk show welcomes you to episode 349 on the 9th of April 2021. The road to the 350th episode continues, and we are just one episode away from the milestone of 350 episodes and securing the legacy of this talk show and the talk show host. In every profession, individuals, those who contribute to that profession or to that domain, and it is subjective that a few individuals are awarded for their effort, be it in sports, athletics, or the subjective and the gimmick called the Nobel Prize. If there was a Nobel Prize for talk show hosts, this talk show would get the Nobel Prize for talk show host. No other talk show in the past decade has done what this talk show has done in the past 2.5 years. So let's look at the highlights of this morning's episode. As we were discussing, a legendary talk show hosted by a legendary host who is now on in the Hall of Fame and the Honors Board of all talk shows around the world. We will also discuss this gimmick called bio bubble fatigue, where players and officials are enclosed in restrictive environments in which they are not allowed to meet people outside a certain environment. And this will be discussed that this is the biggest gimmick that has taken over sports over the past 14 months. Then, as everyone knows, the most gimmick induced domestic championship starts tonight. Even if a few individuals were calling for it to cancel it, for me, last year's host Dubai should have hosted this year's tournament. In fact, for me, even if it's called the Indian 20 over domestic championship, it should be hosted by other countries like South Africa or even Dubai. They are the two best places to host because the Indian stadiums, whether in full capacity or with no capacity, with no crowds, for whatever stupid reasons, they do not have the aesthetics to be seen on the TV. But before that, Welcome back after the break. And now the discussion continues. This is the only independent talk show in the history of broadcasting to air 3 days a week, and the last 14 months, while other talk show hosts have struggled to get ideas and have revolved around mundane ideas, this talk show has broken the proverbial glass shield, the proverbial shield, and talked about subjects which most talk show hosts do not even dare to talk about, and therefore, this talk show is the undisputed emperor of all talk shows. Let's talk about this bio bubble fatigue. What is exactly a bio bubble? It's designed for sports athletes, where sports athletes are required to have a 7-day quarantine before they begin practicing, and they have to go through all kind of tests and get a certain result. Post that, they have to adhere to all the norms that every common individual follows, though they are given special housing where they are put. But if given a simple thing, it is a detention like environment and a detention like atmosphere, a gimmick created to feel sympathetic, where athletes can only communicate with athletes from their team, and when they compete with the other team, that's the only time they meet the players of the other team. For example, the match between Bombay and Bangalore, which is due today at 7 p.m. IST, the players of Bombay and the players of, that includes the match officials, the team management, everyone, both of them are in different housing. They are in different rooms. They cannot communicate physically till they come to the ground and play. Once the match is over and once all the formalities have been done, once it is declared that the match is over, these two teams have to go back to their bio bubble or the detention like atmosphere and stay there, or depending on the schedule of the match, which I had given here a couple of weeks ago, depending on the schedule and the traveling they have to face, they will travel in different vehicles, different buses. I had talked about that last year also, and then they cannot move out from there. If they move out, then they cannot come back in. So if a player decides to opt out, they should have done before the tournament started, because opening the door is inviting and opening the proverbial Pandora's box. So in that case, a few players of other countries had opted out because they could not sustain the bio bubble atmosphere. For them, it became too much, because for most of the players, the bio bubble atmosphere started in June 2020. It has been nearly 11 months since they have been trapped in this particular gimmick, detention like atmosphere, which means the players are caught between the rock and the hard place. That is between earning a paycheck or staying home, which is more important. It's an answer. There is no answer to this question. The players who opted out will not earn a paycheck, means they will be out of action as far as the sport is concerned. But if these players who opted out had continued to play, would they have broken down? That's a question that we would have known only after the matches would have taken place. This will be discussed further next. this proverbial Pandora's box which nobody wants to open if a player opts out. And if the particular player opts out, especially in this tournament which starts tonight, despite all the efforts to not let it happen because of external gimmick reasons and all the illusion that is created, it's going to happen, which is good because it's entertainment. That's what we want. We want these players to entertain us. And yes, for them, it's earning a paycheck, it's earning an extra salary. Remember when we used to earn in summer internships? I said this when this tournament started 14 years ago. This tournament is nothing more than a summer internship for these players. A lot of players who were nobodies became somebodies, or who were somebodies became even greater. They became legends. And who were these? We shall discuss as this tournament progresses. Before this, even the Indian Football League or the Indian Super League had been conducted successfully. And when there was no discussion around that, then why are we making such a big issue out of this particular tournament? This is a good 20 over domestic competition, though not the number one 20 over domestic competition, which is that I have told you it is the Australian 20 over domestic competition. Even the Australian 20 over domestic competition was conducted. Yes, there could have been issues, there could have been teething troubles, but when you have such situations, when you have such harsh norms, when you have a detention like atmosphere in which athletes cannot move out freely, if they move out they cannot come back, and once they are in that bubble or in that umbrella, they have to adhere to whatever gimmick norms or whatever illusionary norms have been created. And yes, they are caught between the rock and the hard place, between the paycheck and staying home. Which is more important? It's like saying which came first, the chicken or the egg. You will have a home if you earn a paycheck. But if you want to earn a paycheck, you have to stay away from home. So it's a dilemma, it's a catch 22 situation, and I leave it to the officials and the athletes to figure it out. Let's discuss something more interesting. Yes. So the Indian president of the Indian Cricket Board said that I feel we Indians are a bit more tolerant than overseas players. I have played with lot of English, Australians and West Indian players. They just give up on mental health. Now once again it's a catch 22 situation, and it's a warning by the Indian Cricket Board. It's not an appreciation of the endurance of the Indian players. It's a warning that if you back out of this tournament, you will lose a paycheck or maybe even lose a place in the national side. There are a lot of stakeholders involved. So, for example, an ex-player of an ex-team who is their MVP, who is their most important player, backs out. Let's say tomorrow, Kohli, Pant back out. They say we cannot tolerate this particular atmosphere. We need a break. They will be in trouble going in the future. So this term is not about being tolerant. This term is about warning. And also the fact that the Indian Cricket Board says that we spoil you. We give you all the facilities which the other governing bodies are unable to give. They are high on the fact that the Indian Cricket Board is literally and metaphorically drowning or swimming in the sea of paychecks from lot of different stakeholders, and those stakeholders want certain players to play because when these players play, people watch, advertisements come, the broadcasters, the stakeholders, the team management, they get their paychecks and their revenue. So it's a warning that you want to earn a paycheck, you have to go through the harsh norms. It's not about this particular term, because this particular term is also nothing more than a gimmick. Because I have also been in a bio bubble like situation, but unlike a few individuals, so let's not discuss this with me, because I can beat the best when it comes to discussing bio bubble fatigue. But before that, welcome back after the break. Enough of bio bubble fatigues and warnings and appreciation. Let's discuss something even more interesting. Who will win this year's domestic championship, the 20 over domestic championships? Will it be the Mumbai Super Kings, the Chennai Capitals, the Bangalore Kings, the Punjab Indians, the Sunrisers Kolkata, the Delhi Knight Riders, the Royal Challengers Hyderabad, or the Rajasthan Royals? Those who don't know who were the previous champions, let's take a look at this timeline. So the tournament, which started in 2008, was won by Rajasthan. In 2009 and 2016, it was won by Deccan, now Hyderabad. 2010, 2011, and 2018 went into the trophy went into the hands of Chennai. Calcutta also had two trophies in 2012 and 2014, and Bombay or Mumbai won five championships, that is 2013, 2015, 2017, 2019, and 2020. Now the question is, which team will win the 2021 domestic world championship? Now, will the new recruits who have been recruited, the new players, they are not new, but they are new in the context of this tournament? Because remember, I said even if a certain player has played for their national side, they are not given the recognition, they are not given the importance, they are not given that push to become something unless they play in this tournament, even if they have played in their own country's domestic championships, which is often discarded in light of how this championship becomes something huge and the way it's broadcasted and all the discussions around it. For example, Kyle Jamieson, a legend in New Zealand, nobody knows who he is, but he plays here. If he manages to play 15 matches for Bangalore, and if Bangalore go on to the finals, even if they don't win, he takes a, let's say Kyle Jamieson picks up 20 wickets in this particular tournament. I already know who Kyle Jamieson is. He's already proved to be a legend in New Zealand, but nobody knows who he is until he plays in this tournament. And this mindset that we have, that unless a player plays in this tournament, or the push is given by Indian newspapers or Indian media or pseudo media as a whole, that player is a nobody. I do not agree with that, but that's the way this entire gimmick is played out. So let's, for example, if Kyle Jamieson or up to some extent even other players who have been recruited, who are they? That's irrelevant. But I took Kyle Jamison's name just as an example. There are a lot of players who already proved themselves in the circles, but if he goes on to score 200 runs, if he is that all-rounder that they need, and if Glenn Maxwell, who did so well in the Australia's 20 over tournament, he did well over there, he is not able to perform well in this tournament, or they look at things like strike rate and runs and the money he is given and all that stupid discussion, but that's the way it is. For me, Glenn Maxwell plays well. If he does not play well in this tournament, doesn't mean that he is a burden. It's the atmosphere we have created around this particular player that is the more dangerous part. He did well in the Australian 20 over domestic championship, that is the Big Bash League. His team nearly made it to the finals. He's the captain of that team, Melbourne. He did well in the international tournaments that preceded and that will succeed. So yes, if Jameson, Maxwell or other recruits, new recruits or other players who have been exchanged from one team to the other, they do well, then it could be a different story for these players. But who will go on to win the 2021 domestic championship, that I will tell you after this short break. Who will win this year's domestic championship? That is difficult to know, but I will put Punjab and Chennai as the finalists of the 2021 domestic championship. Why? It's just a punt. There is no reason why. We don't need to have a reason. It's a fluke tournament. It's a tournament where you have fun, where the players earn a paycheck. They are happy. The officials earn a paycheck. They are happy. My time is spent from 7 p.m. till 10 p.m. Some kind of atmosphere is created because this week is very interesting. The NXT pay-per-view just ended this morning and the WrestleMania pay-per-view starts tomorrow. I will discuss that in the next week, but as far as the tournament is concerned and the winner is concerned, it's very difficult because Delhi, Bangalore and Punjab have not won the tournament. All three teams have come close twice. In 2009 and 2016, Bangalore came twice to winning the tournament. They were flayed or they were restricted by Deccan or Hyderabad, and ironically, in 2009, the captain of the Hyderabad team or the Deccan team was Adam Gilchrist, an Australian, and in 2016 the captain of the same team was David Warner, another Australian. In 2012, in 2014, Punjab made it to the finals of this championship only to be defeated by Calcutta. In 2020, the final was between Bombay and Delhi or Mumbai and Delhi, only for Bombay to win its fifth championship. So each and every team has made it to the finals. Rajasthan hasn't made it to the finals of this tournament since 2008, but they have one trophy in their hand. So as far as will it be a new champion, or will one of these teams add more to their trophy? It's difficult to say. Any team can win. You cannot predict this, unlike WWE, where there is already a set pattern as to which particular wrestler will win to promote this person in the eyes of the fans. Here, unless you are playing a video game, it's difficult to know which particular team will win the tournament. So when an X team win the tournament, we'll discuss how did they manage. But let me tell you, it's a fluke, it's a gimmick. So enjoy. Which team wins doesn't make a difference in the career of the teams or the team management. Welcome back after the break. Well, which team will go on to win that particular domestic championship is only a matter of wait. Whichever team wins, good for them, because one team will win, seven teams will be disappointed despite all the teams making efforts to recruit new players, new captains, new team management, new coaches, and all the drama that entails. But enough of that. When the tournament starts, let's see match by match. And now let's end this beautiful episode with a reading section, reading from H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. We sat and stared at the vacant table for a minute or so. Then the time traveler asked us what we thought of it all. It sounds plausible. It sounds plausible enough tonight, said the medical man, but wait until tomorrow. Wait for the common sense of the morning. Would you like to see the time machine itself? Asked the time traveler, and therewith, taking the lamp in his hand, he led the way down the long, draughty corridor to his laboratory. I remember vividly the flickering light, his queer broad head in silhouette, the dance of the shadows, how we all followed him, puzzled but incredulous, and how there in the laboratory we beheld a larger edition of the little mechanism which we had seen vanish from before our eyes. Parts were of nickel, parts of ivory, parts had been certainly been filled or sawn out of rock crystal. The thing was generally complete, but the twisted crystalline bars lay unfinished upon the bench beside some sheets of drawing, and I took one up for a better look at it. What it seemed to be. Let's take a short break.
For more awesome content, tune into the next episode of the weekly show.
This ends episode number 349 on the 9th of April 2021. Stay tuned for the next episode number 350 at 10 a.m. or 7 p.m. IST on the 12th of April 2021.